Hello there, and welcome to the very first episode of the Playful Rituals podcast. I'm so grateful that you're sitting down with me today. Oh, hi. Hi, my name is Kat. Actually, my name is Catherine Bertrand Farmer, but most of my friends call me Kat. And I'm so excited to be embarking on this journey with you today. Whether you're joining me from social media, hearing about the podcast there, or whether you are part of my crew, my loved ones who's supporting me, I truly, truly am so grateful that you're here sitting down with me today. Like I said, this is kind of an introductory conversation. I wanted to first, before hopping into the interviews and the incredible artists that I'd like to highlight, I thought that I should probably introduce myself first so that you know who you're going on this journey with. So, like I said, this is an introductory episode, and I would like to cover 4 things. 1, give a little background on who I am, what I'm about. 2, for those who've heard on social media that I'm both an artist and an oral historian, I'd like to cover why those fields spoke to me, why I fell in love with those fields. 3, I'd like to talk about how this podcast came to be. And 4, I want to look forward to what's in store for us all. Again, this is truly just an introduction. I would really love to sit down with, actually, I have a very specific person in mind, one of my best friends in this whole world, who is also an oral historian and a phenomenal interviewer. I would love for them to interview me, maybe a few years down the line, and we can look back on this project and my work and all that good stuff. But for now, this is just a little teaser. So yes, let's get into it. Like I said, hello, my name is Kat. I think to really get to know me as a person, you have to get to know my family and my history. So first and foremost, I'm Haitian American, and I grew up all over the place. When I say all over the place, I mean all over the place. A lot of this was because of my parents' work. So my dad was an epidemiologist and a medical anthropologist, and my mom is also an anthropologist, and she is a gender advocate. My dad is white American, Floridian, born in Massachusetts, but grew up in Florida, and my mom grew up in a rural part of Haiti. So both my parents are deeply, deeply committed to social justice, specifically through the lens of public and global health. So my dad actually co-founded an international global health organization called Partners in Health that partners with various local governments to help build hospitals and deliver care. And he and his co-founders and so many other people who were part of the team, including my mom, were able to deliver quality health care to 11 countries around the world, mainly in the global south. And what that meant for me growing up is that I was constantly surrounded by people who were really passionate about human rights, people who were passionate about equity, people who saw others and cared for them, and didn't stand by when they saw wrongdoing in the world. That also meant that I moved around a lot. So the organization was first founded in Haiti. My parents' love story is a whole nother story, but they both met in Haiti. And I was actually born in Boston, Massachusetts, but lived the first about 8 years of my life in Paris while my mom was doing her studies, and then lived the following 9 years of my life in Rwanda, where my parents were doing work with Partners in Health's sister organization in Mubuzima. So yeah, moved around a lot growing up, not only between France and Rwanda and the US, but also Latin America, other parts of Africa. As I got older, I got the chance to go to Asia as well. And one thing that always kind of helped me break the cultural barrier or break language barriers, because oftentimes I would kind of, 9-year-old me would be put in a random place in a random community, and I would kind of just have to make friends and figure things out on my own. The way that I was able to do that was through art. Art was the language that knew no barriers. Art was something that really helped me connect So I remember I would always ask my parents when we would go on a trip to buy me lots of paper and lots of crayons. And when we would go to a new place, I would like paint and draw and create with the kids. And honestly, it was instant connection. Whether we were able to communicate or not, we felt each other and we like were able to build real relationships, even if they were temporary. So art has been a saving grace for me truly my whole life. As you know, a neurodivergent kid, a kid who was sometimes a little awkward, a little shy. It was also a refuge for me. It was a practice that was incredibly meditative. Like whenever I'm frustrated, whenever I'm sad, whenever I'm trying to process big emotions, I love to turn to art. It really grounds me. I also got to give props to my parents who were very much art enthusiasts themselves. My dad actually collaborated with various different kinds of artists, documentary filmmakers, writers. Um, there were lots of people who documented his life and his work, but also conceptual artists, painters. He very much believed in beautifying the spaces where we receive care, and that being a tenet or a facet of healing, beauty surrounding us. And in terms of my mom, not only was she an art enthusiast and low-key an interior designer, she always, covered our home in beautiful art from East Africa, from Haiti, other parts of the Caribbean. And the art from Haiti was usually folk artists. We would have these beautiful cutout silhouettes made out of steel drums. We would have these Haitian voodoo flags, drapeau vaudou, that are these beautiful sequined pieces. We had all sorts of art in our home. And not only that, but she really believed in investing in my cultural education as well. So she always took me to plays, she took me to ballets, she took me to museums and art galleries, put me in all kinds of dance classes. And she really believed that investing in my art and exposing me to all of these different disciplines would help me grow not only as an artist but as a well-rounded person. So I really have so much gratitude to them both for exposing me to the world of art and for helping me really fall in love with it. In terms of oral history work, that was also very organic. Like I said, I lived in Rwanda for almost a decade, for 9 years. And as some of you may know, Rwanda experienced an incredibly devastating genocide in 1994. But something that has really touched me about growing up there, and something that's in direct contrast to the work and the life that I live now in the US, is the fact that Rwanda, from the very beginning, was willing to invest in telling its history, in retelling its history, in investing in transformative justice. So as early as third grade, when I was living there, we were learning about the genocide. We were learning about what happened. We weren't shying away from, the deeper collective trauma that kind of permeated the air there. And as someone who works in the museum field now in the U.S., in Florida, at that, I mean, that is a completely different experience to what I grew up with. Here we're experiencing some pretty heavy censorship, and we kind of almost have to find loopholes in the way that we do our work because certain histories are being censored and suffocated. But growing up in Rwanda, when I was, I want to say 15 or 16, my best friend Lo and I decided that we wanted to write a play and stage it at our high school about the Rwandan genocide. And before we even began the process of writing, we began collecting interviews. So we collected interviews from folks on both sides of the conflict. And I like to think that that was kind of my trial by fire into oral history work, because when I look back, I really wasn't equipped. I didn't have any knowledge on trauma-informed interviewing, but What I did have was relationships with a lot of the people that we spoke to. These were folks who, kind of babysat me as a kid, folks who were colleagues of my parents or who knew somebody who knew somebody. So we took time to get to know them as people before kind of delving into these deeper, more vulnerable conversations. And from these conversations, Lo and I wrote this play. And yeah, I think that that was the first moment in my life where my love for art and my love for the stories of others and collective stories really merged into one, intersected, and I realized that, hey, I can kind of do both things. So that kind of interest in the stories of others and collective stories and the interest in art and artivism at that kind of followed me throughout college. And now I don't know if I'm like I don't know if I'm allowed to really talk about the work that I currently do, but I do manage an oral history program in the city where I live. And that work has been so rewarding, so meaningful. And I've gotten to work with artists locally, as well as owners, as well as racial justice leaders, change makers, collecting neighborhood stories, that kind of thing. So I've continued to kind of lightly pursue that intersection between art and oral history. Now, I will say I've been kind of leaning deeper into the oral history side of things, and I've been neglecting my art. I've been neglecting my art. I have to be honest about that. And I've been feeling it. I've really, really been feeling almost like a hole within myself, like this part of me that I'm not expressing. Not that I'm necessarily suppressing it, but I think I just get so caught up in the day-to-day life, in the adulting and the responsibilities, that I don't take the time to nurture this other part of myself that so deeply is at the core of who I am as a person. So that kind of informed the work that I'm doing currently with this podcast. This podcast was born from a place of need. It was born from a place of desiring to connect with art once again. And I'm really fortunate to be in community with a lot of incredible artists. So I was already kind of having conversations about, hey, what is your creative process? Like, how does your life story inform the work that you do? I want to learn more about like the technicalities of what you do. So as I was having these conversations, I was like, it would be cool to like document this. But I kind of like stored that idea in the back of my head somewhere. And again, I kept feeling this yearning to create, to want to create. But I would honestly get in my own way, I'd be like, oh, I don't have time, or, I have these other responsibilities, whatever it may be. Maybe a year and a half ago, I picked up a copy of Art on My Mind, Visual Politics by Bell Hooks, which is a fantastic read. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is, well, to anyone, truly. There were a couple of things that struck me about this book, but the thing that I wanted to focus on today was the name of the show, Playful Rituals, which comes from this book. Bell Hooks has a chapter in here where she has a transcript with a friend of hers, a conceptual artist slash sculpture slash installation artist named Allison Sarr. And the first thing that struck me about this chapter was the fact that it was a transcript, that it was an interview. That already felt familiar from the jump. That's my field, like that's what I do. I very much resonate with, this style of work, I guess. But delving deeper into the interview itself, what I really enjoyed about it was the chemistry between Allison and Bell Hooks. You could tell that these were people who had known each other for a while and who were friends, genuinely. I think Bell Hooks even referred to Allison as her girlfriend in the conversation. And they talked casually and openly and vulnerably. And because there is that established relationship, they're also able to delve really deep. Um, Bell Hooks approaches Allison's work from a place of real emotion, um, kind of drawing on her own life experiences and drawing parallels between growing up in the South and Allison's experiences. And because she knows Allison as a person, she is able to kind of keenly see things that we as the readers wouldn't see as people who don't have that deep, meaningful relationship. So I really, really enjoyed the chemistry and the tone of that conversation. And then I came across the specific passage that struck me, which I would like to read to you. So this is Bell Hooks talking about Allison's work. She says, "And what's exciting about your work is the way that you make it a sacred yet playful ritual. The spirit of playfulness that I see in you as a person, the way that you like to mix the delightful with the deadly serious, is there in your work. The spirit of play in folk art or primitive art is so rarely talked about as ritualistic, as evoking a vision of life, an ontology that we can use to apprehend reality. I see the ritual play in specific figures you have created, like the tobacco demon or the cotton demon, where on one hand there's a playfulness, yet these figures are constructed to embody evil everywhere we might dread." So I love to annotate my books, and I wrote on the side of the paragraph, "This exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. This reminds me of Haitian folk artists." And it's true, as I was listening to this description of Allison's work, these visions were popping up in my mind of Haitian folk dancers. On January 1st, on Independence Day, Haitian Independence Day, my family and I love to go to the Little Haiti Cultural Center in Miami, and one of the dances that they do is they bring out the Haitian folk dancers and they recreate the Haitian Revolution. And again, it's this really beautiful, embodied, and I would say playful practice of dancing and moving and connecting with the other dancers on stage. But at the same time, it's talking about an incredibly powerful moment in history, a moment of history that changed the face of freedom for Black communities across the globe. It was this pivotal moment when Haiti became the world's first Black republic. So being able to handle that subject matter in a way that is so beautiful, so graceful, and so playful is really moving to me. And I felt like that term, playful ritual, so perfectly captured the essence of what I saw and what I see, every January 1st. And I thought of other Haitian folk artists. I thought again of the drapeau vaudou with the sequins and how that is, it has religious meaning, a lot of deep religious meaning behind it. But again, it is this beautiful, beautiful, playful, bright, colorful visual experience. I thought of the steel silhouettes. I thought of all these different kinds of Haitian folk art. And I was like, wow, this term, playful ritual, that really, really resonates. I would love to be in conversation with Haitian folk artists and see how this applies to their work. And then I started zooming out a little bit, and I was like, I feel like this applies to all artists, really. Like, all art is a ritual, and all art is playful. So the more that I thought about the term, the more that I wanted to explore and be in conversation with other artists. And really, that's what this podcast is. It's an exploration. I don't know much about anything. I don't know much, but I'm very curious, and I really would like to learn and delve deeper into all these different disciplines that I only surface level have encountered, right? But that are incredibly exciting to me, and I hope are incredibly exciting to you too. So you don't necessarily have to be an opera singer to listen to an interview by an opera singer. You don't necessarily have to be a sculptor to appreciate an interview with a ceramicist. But I think as artists, and really as human beings, there's so much that we can take away from hearing about others and how they navigate their craft, how they grow as artists and as people. Um, yeah, I think that's it. I really just want to approach this project with curiosity and with love. Because the other really cool part of this project for me is the ritual, right? I was like, okay, I know that I want to like call this thing Playful Rituals, but it feels kind of wrong to not have a ritual to, to help culminate the end of an episode. So I thought about, how I wanted people to feel when they came and came onto the show and had conversations with me. And I kept coming back to the feeling of love, the feeling of being seen, of being heard, of being celebrated. And I also kept coming back to the phrase, giving folks their flowers. I love to say that to my friends and my family, like, oh, I'm giving you your flowers, when they're doing something great, when they're celebrating an accomplishment in their life. And as I was thinking more and more about that phrase, I was like, hey, I really want to end each episode with, acknowledging the very specific ways that this person who has shared their life and their work with me so vulnerably for like an hour and a half, I really want to acknowledge the ways in which their work is meaningful, both to me and to the larger community. And in doing so, I want to give them literal flowers. So that's kind of where the idea came from. It started with a phrase, and it kind of grew into like the physical act of giving flowers. And not only that, but I wanted it to be personal. And the more that I was like making a list of all the folks that I wanted to talk to, the more I was like, I could see this person liking these kinds of flowers, and I could see this person, liking these kinds of flowers. So I wanted to make it specific. And that felt like a cool way to be, I don't know, a cool way for me to continue to explore and research them as well. Like as I do research on their work, these ideas come to me. And in a way, they almost become, they're not only a ritual, but they are a piece of art that comes out of the process of this podcast. So I thought that would be, that would be cool. So I think I've covered the first three things, which are who I am. My name is Kat. I'm an artist and oral historian. How I came to the fields of art and oral history, or how I came to fall in love with them. How this podcast, Playful Rituals, came about. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about what is to come. I'm so excited that a lot of phenomenal artists have very graciously given me their time and their energy and their stories. I really appreciate every single person who has come on and been interviewed so far as I've been kind of preparing to put this project out into the world. So we have an opera singer. I keep referring to him. You're going to hear from him next week. Actually, he's the very first episode. It is my dear friend Tondo Mamba, who I've known for almost a decade, which is absolutely insane. Not only a phenomenal opera singer and performer, but just an all-around amazing human being, an even better friend, just someone who I love so deeply, so dearly. And when I was thinking about like who I wanted to interview for the first episode, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting a little nervous because in oral history work, the interviewer is kind of, we're a fly on the wall. Sometimes you don't even hear our voice. Sometimes we're not even mic'd. Just the person we're speaking to is mic'd. So I've kind of been able to skate by and just kind of be in the background. And this podcast felt a lot more vulnerable, not only because you can hear my voice so clearly, but because I feel like you get to see a lot of me and who I am and what I'm about, what I love. So when I was thinking about who I wanted to, share space with for the first interview, I really wanted it to be someone that I knew well, someone that I respected and loved, someone that I was comfortable with, someone who can carry a conversation. And Immediately I thought of Tondo. And yes, recording that interview with him was such a joy. We had such a great time. I'm very, very excited for y'all to hear from him. And yeah, we have him, we have a documentary filmmaker, we have a dancer, a folk dancer, a dancer and a folk dancer. We have a conceptual artist, fashion designer, a photographer. We have an oil painter. We have all sorts of folks coming and being a part of these conversations. So I'm super excited for you to tune in. And yes, as we wrap up this introductory episode, I would love to hear if you have any thoughts on who you would like to see on this podcast. Is there a specific kind of discipline that you're really interested by, whether it's tattoo artists or performers, circus performers, why not? Burlesque dancers, really anything creative, I would love to hear. And if you have a specific person in mind too, you are more than welcome to share that. And I will do my best to see if I can connect with them. Other than that, I would also love to know who you are. Are you a creative? Are you an artist? Are you working on any passion projects? If so, please feel free to share. I would love to actually build a community where we can support each other and cheer each other on and encourage each other to create more. So yeah, I think that's everything. I thank you so much for embarking on this journey with me. I'm so excited for what's to come. And yeah, I hope that you stay playful. This wouldn't be the end of a Playful Rituals episode without giving some folks their flowers. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And I have a lot of people to thank. A lot of people have supported me on this journey. And I have so much love and so much gratitude for every single individual on this list. I already know I'm going to forget some folks. Please, if I've forgotten you, please know I love you. I'm so thankful for you. Um, Forgive me. But first, I'd like to start off with my siblings, Seba and Nizu. They were the very, very first people that I told about this project. And I told them about this in a time where I was nervous and I was kind of keeping my cards close to my chest because I didn't feel ready to share this with the world. But I knew from the get-go that I was ready to share it with them. And they have been nothing but my biggest supporters, whether it's this podcast, whether it's my own art, whatever I've got going on in my life, they are always my biggest cheerleaders. And I love them to death. Like, they are my everything. I love you guys so much. They're 10 years younger than I am, but they are absolutely brilliant creatives, brilliant human beings, kind, smart, sweet, all the things. So I love you both so much. Next, I really, really want to thank my mom. She has taken me all over the world with her. She's an adventurous spirit and has made me one as well. She's someone who is not afraid of a challenge, not afraid to navigate a new place or a new space or a new culture. And even when I shared this idea with her, she was already like shooting off all of these ideas that I'm really excited to implement. So yes, she has always been a creative force herself, and I'm so, so grateful for your support, Mommy. Mwah, thank you. I also want to shout out my dad, who, when he was alive, was one of my biggest, biggest supporters. Like, every piece of art I made, even if I thought it was absolutely hideous, he would keep and put it on his wall or travel with it. He absolutely loved when I created. He was a jack of all trades. Like, he was one of those people who was good at literally everything he did, including drawing. I'm like, is there anything you can't do? But yeah, he was always one of my biggest supporters. And, you know, even now that he's passed on, he passed away about 3 years ago, I still feel his love and his presence around me all the time. And I know that he would be so supportive of this endeavor. I like to believe that he still is in his own way. And yeah, I love you, Dad, and I miss you so much. And I hope wherever you are tuning in and enjoying this and, feel like you're a part of it. So, yes, love, love, love my dad. I also want to thank, um, I've already mentioned this person in the show so far, but my best friend slash soulmate, Lolo. They are someone who I don't even know where to begin with them. They're someone who has supported every single creative endeavor I've ever had, every crazy idea, everything that comes to my mind and comes to my heart, they've supported. Not only supported, but given constructive feedback and helped me kind of expand my imagination. They're the person who we the two of us have such parallel lives. It's insane. Like even when we're not talking for a few months or we're busy and caught up in life, we'll come back together and somehow, some way, we find ourselves doing the exact same thing. So this is why I say that they're my soulmate. I absolutely love them. They're one of my longest friendships, relationships in my life. We have so many parallels, not only in our endeavors, but our life experiences, our backgrounds, where we've lived across the world. And they're also someone who I deeply, deeply respect, someone who is a creative genius, in my opinion, and someone who I would love to have on the show one day, Lolo, if you feel like it. So thank you. I love you. And yes, come record with me one day. Um, I also want to thank my unofficial advisory committee, Auntie Jenny, Patrick, and Abby, who have not only listened to my ideas for hours on end, but have given me feedback and have given me constructive criticism more on the like technical business side of podcasting, which is something that I was completely out of my depth in. So their feedback and their guidance has meant so much to me and has really, really helped me in developing this show. I also want to thank my beautiful, lovely grandma, my creative, talented Auntie Katie, and her equally creative and talented husband, Uncle Bob, who have also listened to my ideas about this podcast and been so, so supportive, cheered me on every step of the way, checked in with me when I would go long periods of time without like talking about this or working on it, just checking in, being like, hey, is this still happening? How can we support? And they just bring such a light and a love to everything that I do. So I just want to thank you three so, so much and let you know that I love you. I have to thank my godparents, particularly Nana Nephilia and Uncle Todd, who have been my biggest cheerleaders throughout this process. Again, listening to my crazy ideas, giving feedback, being excited for me. I really needed people to be excited for me because I was nervous about it. And they were excited every step along the way. And when I shared with them that I'd be dropping this in a few days, they were the first to say, we're going to share this with our network and we're going to share this with as many people as we can. So I love you both so much. I also love you for the way that you held and loved my dad while he was alive. They were some of his longest friendships. They've been through everything together. And it was so beautiful to grow up watching how loved my father was and to see that kind of being extended to me and my siblings. So I love you guys so much, and I'm so thankful for your support. There are so many other people I need to name, y'all. There are so many people. I'm just going to throw out some names, okay? Again, I know that I'm going to be missing some people. As soon as I click, stop recording, I'm going to be like, damn, I should have said this and this. But we're just going to throw out some names. Auntie Bina, Papa Lenny, Vivian, Alexis, Mashu, Mashunino, Jack, Sabrina, Janine, Nelson, Isabel, Patrick, and their amazing creative kids, Nuari, Marisa, and Irame. Vanessa, Rose, Jeremy, Ines, Nina, Tay, I can't forget about Tay, Auntie Peggy, Auntie Lori, Sage, Corey. those are the names that are coming up at the top of my head. Again, love you so much. If you didn't make the list, I love you. I'm going to hit you up separately. Professor Adme. I can't forget Professor Adme, who made me fall in love with storytelling in the first place and helped me see the ways in which this could be like a viable career. Wow, there's so many other people that I'm sure I'm not listing. Apologies. I do want to end off this episode with thanking all the artists who I've interviewed so far. There wouldn't be a podcast without you. You bring so much light and love into this world by just creating. We thank you all for your vulnerability and for your willingness to just be you and bring that light into the world. And I'm so, so excited to be having conversations with you in the near future. And shout out to you who's listening to this podcast. Mwah. I'm sending you so much love and so much gratitude for being with me today. And I'm really excited to see what we have in store. All right. Peace out.